You ever notice how some people treat your time like it's theirs? Like you don't have a family, responsibilities, dreams, or even just moments where you need to breathe. They call you at the last minute, they show up late, they cancel plans without a second thought, and somehow you're always the one expected to adjust, to understand, to be flexible. And the truth is, it might not even feel like a big deal at first. You tell yourself, it's just one time, they're busy, life happens. But then one time turns into every time, and before you know it, you've trained someone to believe that your time doesn't matter. Here's the hard reality: your time is the most expensive currency you'll ever own. You can make back lost money, you can rebuild broken opportunities, but you can never, ever buy back lost time. Once it's gone forever. And the people who constantly ask for it without respecting it, they're robbing you. Not with a weapon, not with force, but with carelessness. They're robbing you of the hours you could have spent chasing your goals, resting your body, or even just being with the people who truly value you. Think about it. If someone kept taking money out of your wallet every time you saw them, you'd notice pretty quickly. You'd lock that wallet, you'd set boundaries, you'd cut them off. But when it comes to time, we hesitate. We feel guilty for saying no. We feel like we're being selfish if we don't give it away freely. And that's how some people get comfortable. They keep asking and asking and asking, not because they don't know better, but because they've learned that you'll always say yes. Now, I want you to really ask yourself this: who in your life is constantly showing up only when it benefits them? Who calls only when they need a favor, but disappears when you need support? Who takes hours from your day, weeks from your year, years from your life, and gives you nothing in return but excuses? That's not friendship. That's not love. That's not partnership. That's someone treating you like a resource, not a person. And the thing about resources is they run out. They deplete. If you keep pouring out your energy into people who don't pour anything back, eventually you're left empty. And then you wonder why you feel drained, unmotivated, uninspired. It's not always because life is tough. It's often because you've allowed the wrong people to take what they never earned. Respecting your time isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. It's about making room for the people and the moments that genuinely deserve space in your life. When you surround yourself with those who value your time, something amazing happens. You stop feeling guilty for protecting it. You stop apologizing for having boundaries. And instead of being drained, you feel energized because your time is being exchanged in a way that feeds you instead of empties you. I know some of you are thinking, but what if I lose them? What if they get upset when I stop giving so much of my time? And here's the truth: you might lose them. But ask yourself, if the only reason they were in your life is because you gave them unlimited access to your time, did you really lose anything? Or did you just make space for someone better? We need to stop confusing being available with being valuable. Your value is not measured by how much you let people take from you. It's measured by how much you respect yourself enough to protect what matters most. And time, your time is what matters most. So, the next time someone shows you they don't respect your time, don't brush it off. Don't excuse it. Pay attention, because the way someone treats your time is the clearest window into how they'll treat your life. If they can't respect your minutes, they won't respect your years. And you deserve to spend both with people who see your time for what it really is: sacred, priceless, and never to be wasted. There's something you have to watch for, and it's subtle at first. It's when someone asks you to compromise your values. They might not come out and say it directly, but the pressure is there. It shows up in the jokes that make you uncomfortable, but you're expected to laugh at anyway. It shows up in the invitations to things you know don't sit right with you, but you feel like you have to say yes to avoid disappointing them. It shows up when someone says, "Come on, it's not that big of a deal," when deep down you know it is. That moment, right there, that's the fork in the road. Because here's the truth, when you start bending your values to keep people happy, you're not protecting the relationship, you're breaking yourself. Every time you go against what you know is right, even in small ways, you chip away at your self-respect. And once you start losing respect for yourself, it's almost impossible to expect others to give it to you. See, your values are not suggestions. They're not preferences. They are your compass. They're the part of you that says, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is the line I will not cross. And anyone who asks you to ignore that, anyone who makes you feel guilty for standing by it, isn't asking for a favor, they're asking you to abandon yourself. Think about the long-term damage of that. If you keep saying yes when everything inside of you is screaming no, you start living someone else's life. You start carrying someone else's expectations. And the scary part is, it doesn't even feel like a big betrayal in the beginning. It feels like a small compromise, one little thing, just this once. But compromise after compromise, you wake up one day and you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The people who truly care about you will never want you to shrink your values to fit into their comfort zone. They won't mock your boundaries, they won't test your integrity, and they won't pressure you into silence. Instead, they'll honor it. They'll say, I may not agree, but I respect you for standing firm. And that respect is the foundation of any real relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, a coworker, or even family. And I know this part is hard, because sometimes the ones asking you to bend your values are the people you love the most. A best friend who wants you to cover for them. A partner who expects you to stay quiet about their mistakes. A boss who asks you to cut corners just to make them look good. You tell yourself, if I don't do this, they'll be upset. They'll think I'm not loyal. But here's the thing, loyalty is not about betraying yourself to protect someone else. Real loyalty means supporting someone without having to lose your integrity in the process. There's a certain kind of strength that comes when you finally say, no, I can't do that. That's not who I am. And it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, calm. But that no echoes. It reminds people, and more importantly, it reminds you that you're not for sale, that your respect, your honesty, your values are not things anyone can negotiate away. And yes, some people will walk away when you refuse to compromise, but let them. Because anyone who only wanted to stay as long as you were willing to break your own values for them was never truly with you in the first place. It's not your job to twist yourself into someone else's version of acceptable. It's your job to live in alignment with who you really are. So the next time someone asks you to go against your principles, stop and ask yourself, am I protecting this relationship, or am I abandoning myself? Because the cost of pleasing people at the expense of your values is always too high. At the end of the day, the people who matter most are the ones who can look at you fully standing in your truth and say, that's exactly why I respect you. And if someone can't handle the weight of your values, then they were never strong enough to carry a place in your life to begin with. There's another kind of request people will make, and it's one of the most dangerous. It's when they ask you to stay silent about the wrong they're doing. They don't always put it into words. Sometimes it's just a look, sometimes it's a heavy pause, sometimes it's a reminder of everything you'll risk if you speak up. But the message is clear. Don't say anything. Don't call me out. Protect me, even if I'm wrong. And in that moment, you're faced with a choice. Do I protect the relationship by keeping quiet? Or do I protect my integrity by telling the truth? A lot of people choose silence, not because they agree with the wrong, but because they're scared. Scared of losing the friendship. Scared of causing conflict. Scared of being judged. And so they stay quiet, convincing themselves it's the kinder thing to do. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't make you kind, and it doesn't make you loyal. It makes you complicit. When you cover for someone's lies, when you excuse their betrayal, when you look the other way while they hurt people, you're not protecting them. You're enabling them. You're handing them permission to keep going, to keep hurting, to keep living without accountability. And the longer you stay silent, the heavier the guilt becomes. Because deep down, you know you had a voice and you chose not to use it. There's a reason people who do wrong often ask for silence. They know if the truth came out, they'd have to face the consequences. They'd have to admit they were wrong. So instead, they pressure you to hold their secrets, to carry their lies, to share in their burden. And what they're really asking you to do is sacrifice your peace for their comfort. But your peace is too valuable to give away like that. The weight of someone else's wrongdoing will crush you if you let it. And here's the thing, you can love someone and still refuse to cover up what they're doing. You can care about someone and still say, I won't lie for you. I won't excuse this. In fact, that's real love. Because real love wants someone to grow, to get better, to face the truth, not to hide in the dark while everyone else carries the cost. I want you to think about the kind of people you need in your life. Do you want people who will look you in the eye and tell you the truth, even when it stings? Or do you want people who will smile at you while letting you destroy yourself? If the answer is the first one, and I believe it is, then you have to be that kind of person too. You have to be willing to speak, even when it costs you something. And yes, it will cost you. People might get angry when you refuse to stay silent. They might distance themselves. They might call you disloyal. But loyalty built on lies is no loyalty at all. And a relationship that survives only because you stayed quiet about someone else's wrongdoing isn't a healthy relationship. It's a hostage situation. When you break that silence, when you finally say, no, I can't cover this, something powerful happens. You free yourself. You reclaim your voice. You stop carrying the weight that was never yours to carry. And maybe, just maybe, you hold up a mirror to the other person that forces them to confront what they've been running from. The world doesn't change because people do wrong. The world changes because too many people stay quiet about it. And if you want to live a life of strength, of integrity, of peace, you cannot be one of those silent bystanders. You have to draw the line. So the next time someone asks you to keep quiet about their mistakes, remember this silence might protect them for a moment, but it will cost you forever. And the price of losing your own voice, your own truth, your own peace is far too high to pay for anyone. Because when you protect someone's lies, you bury your own truth. And no relationship, no friendship, no bond is worth the cost of losing yourself. There's a certain kind of person you've got to be careful with. It's the one who keeps asking for your forgiveness, but never changes their behavior. They'll say, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. And you want to believe them because you care, because you're hopeful, because deep down you want to see the best in them. And maybe the first time it feels genuine, maybe even the second. But after the third, the fourth, the fifth, you start to realize something. It's not an apology anymore. It's a pattern. And a pattern is different. A pattern says, I know I hurt you, but I also know you'll forgive me, so I don't have to change. It's not about being sorry. It's about keeping access. They're not asking for forgiveness to make things right. They're asking for forgiveness to avoid accountability. That's the trap too many people fall into. You tell yourself forgiveness is the right thing to do, and it is, up to a point. Forgiveness is powerful. Forgiveness is healing. But forgiveness without boundaries, forgiveness without change, that's not strength, that's surrender. You're not forgiving at that point. You're enabling. You're handing someone permission to keep disrespecting you over and over again. Think about what that does to your soul. Every time you forgive without change, you're telling yourself, my pain doesn't matter. My worth doesn't matter. My boundaries don't matter. And slowly, that becomes your reality. You start believing it's normal to be hurt. You start believing it's normal to never see change. And worst of all, you start believing you don't deserve better. But you do deserve better. You deserve more than empty words and recycled promises. You deserve people who value your forgiveness so much that they never want to need it again. People who say, "I'm sorry," and then back it up with action. People who prove through consistency that they're not going to put you through the same hurt again. Here's the tough part though, when you finally decide not to forgive endlessly, when you say, "Enough is enough," those people will often try to guilt you. They'll say, "But you're supposed to forgive. You're supposed to let it go. You're being cold. You're being harsh." Don't fall for that. Forgiveness is not a free pass for bad behavior. Forgiveness does not erase accountability. And protecting yourself is not cruelty, it's wisdom. And let's be clear, you can forgive someone in your heart and still remove them from your life. Forgiveness doesn't mean reunion. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let them back in. Forgiveness means you release the bitterness, but you also refuse to re-enter the same cycle of pain. Because if their apology doesn't come with growth, then your forgiveness should come with distance. The people worth keeping in your life are the ones who take forgiveness seriously. They're the ones who feel the weight of hurting you so deeply that they'll do whatever it takes not to repeat it. They're the ones who learn, who grow, who evolve. That's what separates a genuine apology from manipulation. So ask yourself, who in your life keeps asking for your forgiveness but refuses to change? Who keeps breaking promises, keeps hurting you, keeps expecting you to just move on? Because those people aren't asking for forgiveness anymore. They're asking for your permission to keep hurting you. And you don't owe them that. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself boundaries. You owe yourself the courage to say, "I forgive you, but I won't allow you to keep doing this." That's not weakness. That's strength. That's self-respect. That's drawing a line that says, "My heart is open, but it's not a doormat." And here's the most important part. When you stop forgiving without change, you teach people how to treat you. You set the standard that your time, your heart, your life are too valuable to be played with. And anyone who truly loves you, truly respects you, will rise to meet that standard. So the next time someone asks for your forgiveness, don't just listen to the words. Watch the actions. Because talk is cheap, but change is priceless. And you deserve nothing less than the kind of love and respect that proves through action that they value you enough never to put you through the same pain twice. One of the most dangerous requests people will ever make of you is to shrink your dreams. And they won't always phrase it like that. They won't come right out and say, "Make yourself smaller." Instead, it sounds like, "Be realistic," or "Don't aim too high," or "That's probably not for someone like you." And if you're not careful, you start believing them. You see, small-minded people love to ask you to think smaller because it makes them feel safe. Your big dreams, your ambition, your vision, those things expose their lack of courage. They highlight everything they've given up on, and instead of letting your courage inspire them, they'd rather pull you down to their level. Misery loves company, and nothing makes someone stuck in fear feel better than convincing you to stay stuck too. But here's the thing about dreams. They're not supposed to be comfortable. They're not supposed to feel realistic at first. They're supposed to stretch you, scare you, force you to grow into the kind of person who can carry them. That's why they're yours. And anyone who asks you to make them smaller is asking you to live a life that doesn't belong to you. The tragedy is, too many people listen. They listen to the voices that say, "You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You don't have the right connections. You don't have the resources." And one by one, they start letting go of the fire inside of them. They trade in passion for security. They trade in potential for approval. They trade in greatness for comfort. But comfort has never built a legacy. Comfort has never changed the world. Comfort has never made someone's name echo long after they're gone. Every single person who has ever achieved something meaningful did it because they refused to let someone else's fear dictate the size of their dream. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now. Maybe you've got a dream burning inside of you, But every time you share it, someone laughs. Someone rolls their eyes. Someone says, "That's impossible." And it's tempting to shrink it just to fit into their box. But hear me, if your dream fits in their box, it's not your dream anymore, it's theirs. And you were never created to live in someone else's box. You've got to start paying attention to who you share your dreams with. Share them with people who push you higher, not people who pull you lower. Share them with people who say, "How can I help?" Not people who say, "That'll never work." The people who belong in your life are the ones who see the fire in you and fan the flame, not try to smother it. And yes, chasing big dreams will cost you. It will cost you the approval of those who prefer mediocrity. It will cost you the comfort of playing small. But the reward is that you actually live. You wake up every day with purpose. You go to bed every night knowing you're moving towards something that matters. And that is worth more than the temporary security of staying small. So when someone asks you to shrink your dream, stop and ask yourself, whose voice am I listening to? The voice of fear or the voice of purpose? Because purpose will always demand you grow. It will always demand you take risks. It will always demand that you step into something bigger than yourself. And the people who love you, the people who truly want the best for you, will never try to silence that voice. At the end of the day, your dream was given to you for a reason, not them, you. And no one has the right to ask you to set it down just to make them more comfortable. Don't let small minds talk you out of a big life. Don't let fear disguised as advice kill what was meant to change everything. Because the moment you stop listening to those voices, the moment you decide to hold on to your dream, no matter what, you step into the kind of life that leaves people wondering how you ever had the courage to do it. And the answer will always be simple. You refuse to make your dream smaller just to make someone else feel bigger. There's one more kind of request you've got to pay attention to because it can be the most deceptive. It's when someone asks for your loyalty, but never gives theirs in return. They want your trust, your support, your presence, your commitment. But when it's time for them to show up for you, they're nowhere to be found. Loyalty is a beautiful thing when it's mutual. It's the glue that holds friendships, marriages, families, and even teams together. But when it's one-sided, it's not loyalty, it's manipulation. Because what they're really saying is, I expect you to be there for me, even though I won't be there for you. And the more you give, the more they take, until you realize you've been carrying a relationship that was never built on equal ground. Think about it. How many times have you been the one picking up the phone when they needed to vent, but when you needed someone to listen, suddenly they were too busy? How many times have you stood up for them, defended them, supported them, but the moment you needed the same in return, the silence was deafening? That's not loyalty. That's dependency, and it leaves you empty. The thing about people who demand your loyalty is that they often wear it like a test. They'll say things like, "If you really cared, you'd do this for me." Or, "Don't you trust me?" Or, "I thought you were my friend." They use guilt as currency, buying your loyalty without ever investing their own. And if you don't stop it, you'll spend your entire life proving your loyalty to people who don't deserve it. But true loyalty doesn't need to be proven. True loyalty is shown. It's shown in the small moments, in the consistency, in the way someone is there for you without you having to ask. It's not loud, it's not demanding, and it doesn't keep score. Mutual loyalty feels steady, safe, dependable. One-sided loyalty feels draining, heavy, and unfair. And here's where it gets dangerous. Sometimes you know deep down the loyalty isn't mutual, but you keep giving anyway because you don't want to lose them. You convince yourself, if I keep showing up, they'll eventually show up for me. But it rarely works that way. Why would they change when you've already proven you'll stay loyal without requiring anything back? The hard truth is, the more you allow one-sided loyalty, the less reason they have to ever give theirs in return. You've got to start asking yourself some honest questions. Who in my life makes me feel guilty when I can't give, but disappears when I need something? Who praises my loyalty when it benefits them, but questions it the moment I ask for reciprocity? Who's always in the center of the circle, but never in my corner? Because those people aren't looking for loyalty. They're looking for control. And the longer you play by their rules, the more you lose yourself in the process. But you don't have to keep playing. You have the right to expect mutual loyalty. You have the right to say, if I'm going to pour into this relationship, I need you to pour too. And if they can't, that doesn't make you disloyal. It makes you wise. Because loyalty should never cost you your self-respect. The strongest relationships, the ones that stand the test of time, are built on shared loyalty, on the knowledge that no matter what happens, you've got each other's back. That kind of loyalty builds trust. It builds security. It builds love. But anything less than that is just a trap. So the next time someone demands your loyalty, don't just listen to their words. Watch their actions. Are they loyal to you? Do they show up? Do they keep their promises? Do they protect you when you're not around? Because if they don't, they haven't earned what they're asking for. And you deserve better than one-sided loyalty. You deserve relationships where loyalty flows both ways, where trust is mutual, where you never have to question whether someone will be there for you. Because the truth is simple: loyalty that only goes one way isn't loyalty at all. It's slavery. And you were never meant to live chained to someone else's selfishness.